All right, welcome. Just getting set up here for our live today. Welcome everyone, whether you're joining through the replay or you're popping on live. It's great to be here. I miss being live, so maybe we'll do more of these and initiate some new things as 2026 is underway. So I'm just going to say a prayer right now, and if you're joining, you can check out the chat. We'll keep the chat live. I'll post a couple links so that you can see the Substack article that's going to talk about this 7 threshold crossing. But for now, let's just ground ourselves and go inward a little bit. Maybe have your feet flat on the floor, even if you're sitting down. Take a deep breath and exhale through your nose. Inhale through your nose. Exhale through your nose. Just letting it all out, letting every bit of that breath go out. And then inhale again. Exhale through your mouth this time. And just relax as you exhale. Inhale again. And relax. So welcome as we call in God, Goddess, our higher selves, our oversouls, for this most auspicious and important time in the history of humanity, in the history of our lives. And there's so much at stake, and we are also wanting so much for ourselves, for others, for the world. And so we bring all of that and we lay it upon the altar of the divine to alchemize everything good. We bring in also our fears, our judgments, our worries, and we lay those on the altar as well. Just take a moment and in your mind's eye, imagine yourself, all the things that you're dealing with, good, bad, ugly, just offering it as prasad, as gift to the divine on this altar. It says, not my will, thy will. So I'm going to take off that backpack of all the difficulty and I'm going to lay it on this altar. Because sometimes we derive an identity even from how hard it is. And so right now we're going to come into that zero space as we initiate ourselves. So just let everything be put on the altar. I can see myself right now putting some flowers on the altar as well as a beautiful fragrance. Maybe something else that you would want to put on the altar, a candle, some perfume, some essential oils, some chocolates. Just juicing it up with our feminine energy because Venus is here with us. So let us honor that principle of the divine feminine, the principle of our beautiful embodiment. Maybe we put some of our necklaces, our jewels, our rings on this altar. And then just imagine yourself bowing before this altar, just feeling the relief of unburdening yourself right now. And then take a bow. And let's come into the space together, into this sacred space. And welcome to those who have joined. I just did a little prayer. It'll be part of the recording. Just if you're tuning in, just let me know where you're tuning in from. And if anyone is an Aquarian, or if you're an Aquarian rising, Aquarian moon, I would love to know, because we are going to initiate ourselves into this Aquarian energy. with Gene Key 41. So let me tell you a little bit about how this ritual is going to go. I'm going to give you a context of this 2026, the 7 threshold crossings, and then we're going to dive into Gene Key 41 and really activate our feminine leadership. You'll be surprised if you don't know 41 that it has some leadership codes to it. And then we will end with another prayer, like an activation, an embodiment of these codes. So let's start off with presencing, like, happy new moon. Here we are at the last degrees of Capricorn. And we've had quite a parade in Capricorn. All the personal planets have gathered in this sign. And so I really feel like we're coming from the new moon in Sagittarius. I just can't forget that new moon. And we're bringing in the energy of the future from, that Archer, from that Sagittarius new moon. Things have been really working on the inside of you. And then this parade gathered in Capricorn, this stellium. Remember, we had Mars, Venus, and the sun in a triple conjunction, setting a new cycle with Mars and Venus, the divine feminine, the divine masculine. And right now, Venus is invisible, but she's leading the way into Aquarius. She went into that sign yesterday, the temple of Aquarius, the temple of Saturn. Saturn rules Aquarius as well as Uranus, the modern ruler. And so Venus is already in Aquarius, and we now have a stellium still in Capricorn. We've got the sun and the moon conjunct. We've got Mercury there and Mars, and they will all move as one pretty much. And we'll go through those dates, one after one, coming into Aquarius. So we're taking this form and structure. So we had these visions from Sagittarius. We moved into Capricorn and things started to move. And we know Venus will be visible in February, Mars in March, Jupiter goes direct in March. So the energy is going to pick up. So if you haven't been feeling it, if nothing really has opened for you, it's okay. These are seed moments. And so yesterday, as I said, Venus moved into Aquarius. And then today is the new moon in Capricorn. We're really taking the things that we have learned and planting seeds for this evolutionary future, which is daunting, which is all hands on deck, which is going to call forth the best from you and me. It really is. It's so interesting because when I work with women, a lot of us have just been burned out by the system, the matrix, the way that we've set up our economy that just gives and that just takes and takes and takes, and we're giving and giving and giving. And there's so many people burned out. But what this is going to require when you step into your dharma, your next assignment from your soul, will be probably more than you've ever given. And I want to say that there's an energy return to it. So you'll feel juiced up. That's how you're going to know you're doing it. There's just like juice to it. There's aliveness to it. Lori Grace is here. Wonderful. Thank you, sister. Okay, so let's presence a little more of this new moon in Capricorn at 28 degrees, the final degrees, before it moves into Aquarius. This is happening in about less than 2 hours. The new moon will be exact, and that moon travels quickly. We'll move on into the sign of Aquarius it will conjunct Pluto. So tomorrow, the 19th, I'm in the United States, Pacific time. The sun will enter Aquarius. So if you have a birthday tomorrow, happy birthday. You are 0 degrees Aquarius, holy goddess. Your life is never going to be the same. I know a lot of Aquarians, and I'm excited for this initiation. So the sun moves into Aquarius, and then on the 19th, Venus and Pluto join together at 3 degrees. And so we're going to have a parade of these personal planets touching in with Pluto, the Lord of Death and Rebirth. This is a power signature. This can be a wealth signature. Think about the goddess of love, the goddess of relationships, Mercury, money, commerce, Mars, action, embodiment, like all of what it means to be human. The moon, our lives here on Earth. So all of that, and then the sun, our conscious awareness, our dharma, what we're here to do is having a conversation with this archetype, Pluto, the Lord of Death and Rebirth, who's ruling this next 19 years in Aquarius. So these are very rare constellations, and we have so much energy moving into the Aquarian part of your world. But we're ready because whatever happened in that Capricorn part got us ready for what's happening next. And then on the 20th, Mercury moves into Aquarius. And then the 21st and the 22nd is this first initiation that I want to talk about. And this is 7 initiations that I found and curated from this astrological calendar of 2026. And I love threshold crossings, and I'll talk about that in a moment. I'll finish up with the timeline. So on the 21st, 22nd, depending on where you live, 21st in Pacific time, 22nd if you're in the UK, the sun moves into gene key 41. And you don't have to know anything about the gene keys or human design or anything. And I'll share just the basics of what you need to know. We'll talk about the shadow, the gift, and the city, the highest frequency of this gene key. It's really beautiful. It's such a great code to begin the year with. And that marks the beginning of the year according to the Rave Mandala. And that comes from human design and the gene keys. So that's our first threshold crossing of 2026. And then on the 23rd, Mars enters Aquarius. And then the sun on that same day forms a conjunction with Pluto. That is like, bam, power, massive power. On the 26th of January, Neptune moves into Aries. Leaving Pisces, we'll never experience that in our lifetime. We are complete with Neptune and Pisces. And now Neptune is moving into Aries at 0 degrees on January 26th. This is such a shift in the signature of the energy that we've been experiencing for the last 14 years. And for another 14 years, Neptune will be in Aries. And I've done a video about it, and I'll do more videos about it. And then on the 27th, this is the last piece of this kind of 10-day parade from Capricorn into Aquarius. And that is when Mars then joins Pluto, the last one to join Pluto at this 3 degrees. And that's a very intense signature. And so from then on, we're into the beginning of the beginning. Let's see who else. Netherlands, Colorado. Yeah. Lots of snow there, Lori. Okay, ladies. So let's look at the 7 threshold crossings. I wrote a Substack article detailing it, so I'm not going to go into a lot of details, but I'm just going to give you an overall picture of these 7 threshold crossings and why I think they're important. Because it's such a game-changing year, I think that our psyches need to get prepared for what's to come. And, when I wrote the book, The Art of Turning 50, and it was a threshold crossing from 49 to 50, but more than just a number, it was a psychic archetypal shift from maiden and mother to queen. So that means that when you step into it and you consciously activate your queen and you ritualize the completion of maiden and mother, even if you're still mothering, because the dominant theme then becomes the queen. Like, I am sovereign in myself. I accept myself for who I am. It's a shift in our come from place. And that's the same shift that we're going through as humans. We have some really big existential questions to answer. Most fundamentally, like, who are we? We've gotten so far from the basis of our humanity that we're going to have to revisit, what do we think it means to be human? And with the rise of AI, it's going to force that question. And it will take away a lot of that busyness, allegedly, we'll see, but a lot of things will be outsourced to AI, which will then leave us with a void and a vacuum. And that's the place where all these questions get answered. And so you can see that the shift from the old as business as usual, like, I just got to pay the mortgage or get a house or find a partner, have a child, raise a child, now retire. Like, all of that is complete. And the gene keys and human design say that the cross of planning, the cross that was responsible for the creation of all of these institutions, like our higher education, our banking, even like marriage, since Venus is in Aquarius now, changing even those contracts. So all of the ways that we've set up structure are ending, and we're moving into a new era. And then the era is the era of empowerment. And we'll talk more about that later. That's a theme that deserves its own space and time. So these crosses, not the crosses. So these threshold crossings are, in my mind, these astrological times when we go from one state to another. And yeah, we can just blow them off and live life and try to pretend like it's all the same. But in my experience, if we ritualize them, if we give them some airtime, if we contemplate them, then our nervous system, our bodies are ready for the shift of what's to come. And we activate some new codes because there's new ways of being that we're being asked to embody. And these are going to be long transits. So we don't have to get it perfect. We don't have to get it right. We are the in-between team. I've said that before. In between one age and another age is where we are right now, this interstitial time. So congratulations for being that liminal edge walker, the one in between, to do things that are not even for you. They're for the future. So that's pretty courageous. It's noble. It's beautiful. And to me, it gives my life meaning. So the first of 7 is happening on the 21st, 22nd. And this is the initiation of Gene Key 41. That is called the start codon. It activates genetically in our bodies something new. And we're going to dive into that. I'll attach the Substack article so that you can see what the other initiations are, like the new moon solar eclipse in Aquarius happening on February 17th. And that initiates us from the wood snake to the fire horse. And that fire horse happens every 60 years. And how interesting that this fire horse is here now. And because I am a fire horse, I'm going to probably spend some time on that one, talking about it, making videos about it. And then our third initiation is called Making Real the Dream. And that's that Saturn-Neptune conjunction happening in mid-February that really changes the energy signature of these Titans, Neptune and Saturn, who have been really redoing the Pisces area of your world. And then I call the fourth initiation this Pisces new moon. And the reason why is between the 4th and the 5th, we have Pisces Aries, which is a birth canal. So this is our cosmic birth canal. Another opportunity to rebirth ourselves, to rebirth the soul of the world, because this is the axis at 0 degrees Aries of the equinox that sets off a new cycle. It's the beginning of the astrological new year. So I see that Pisces new moon to that Aries sun as our birth canal. Pisces is the oneness. It is the place we came from, the place where everything was connected and we remembered who we were. And then as this spark of light, we came in as I am. And we incarnated here. And so there's so much to talk about with that one. And then that's initiation 4 and 5. And initiation 6, I'm calling Uranus and Gemini just because it's such a game changer. And then the final initiation actually to me happens when the nodal axes change. And that is significant because we've been playing in this Pisces Virgo axes, like getting so worked on this heaven and earth axes, seeing the shadow, fostering a new sense of spirituality, bringing new things to the future. And then the nodes shift and the North Node moves into Aquarius. So to me, I see that as like now the Aquarian age is really underway. You know, these are transits that last for thousands of years. So even if it started in 2011, we're really, really at the inception. So to me, that's the final threshold crossing that happens on the 27th of July through, I'm going to say August, because it depends on how you calculate the nodes. So those are the 7 threshold crossings. I'll post that Substack if you want to dive into them a little bit more. But today we're going to initiate ourselves into the very first threshold. All right. So for those of you not familiar with the Gene Keys, it's a body of work that Richard Rudd developed, and it came through human design. And human design was given to Ra Uru Hu in 1987. And it was iterated, it's been iterated, and now it's a beautiful body of work that I think was given to us for these times. There were so many things that were given to us so that we could navigate these times. And the technology that was given to us is to know ourselves better. Because we came in with a lot of conditioning, maybe past life stuff that we brought through, maybe lifetimes we were killed, we were burned at the stake, or whatever it was, we were enslaved in some way, because slavery is a part of our consciousness. And so human design came in to really break that slave consciousness, particularly with 70 to 75% of the population, generators, manifesting generators. You are not slaves. and also manifestors who were royalty, but then in this dimensional time and space started to become super slaves. Ra called manifestors or initiators super slaves. Wow. Like so much. And think about the overlay with the doctrine of original sin, that we're inherently unworthy. It's just like thick and dense with all that material. And we came into this lifetime and we have to peel all of it off. So these technologies are coming through to say, you have a genius, a core set of genius that's already in your template codes, that you already know how to do this thing. You already know how to be this way. And so much of us, we're like trying to be anything but who we are, from the fear that it's not going to be safe. And even now you can feel the breakdown of even that more and more of us are wanting to live from that soul space. I think that conditioning is, like the Enneagram says, it's our personality. It's not our soul. It's the thing that we develop so we can cope with this. And now we get to like feed it to the soul. What an interesting metaphor. So nothing goes to waste, as really a regenerative world. If we apply that emotionally and spiritually and psychologically, it doesn't go to waste. We actually feed it. It's fodder for our soul self. And so these codes are really activating soul material. I love thinking about it that way. And again, these are perspectives. I'm not saying anything is true or not true. I'm saying here's a lens to look at things, because we are meaning-making machines. And either we're going to make up something that keeps us in our slavery and victimization, or we're going to make up a narrative, a context that has us enrolled in life and showing up in a way that lights us up, that gives us energy back, and that is in service to other people. I was meeting with a client this week, and she had the most epic codes. Like, they were so strong for leadership and making something happen at scale. And this person, who is, I think, 40 years old, came in as, I just want to do something. She didn't say it this way, but it was like, I want to do this really small thing. What do you think? And I had to take a deep breath. And really the resistance underneath why she wanted to just do this small thing was because her experience in corporate life just burned her out. It felt too constricting. She associated playing big with doing that thing. So we have to rearrange and question our assumptions. And I was telling her about how when I volunteered for Habitat for Humanity when I was in my 20s, we built 10 houses in 1 week. And I said, do you think that I worked 9 to 5? It's like, no, I worked like 6 a.m. to like 9 p.m. I did not work 9 to 5, but I wasn't burned out because there was so much energy return. Like, doing drywall and painting next to the people who were going to get the house. Like, I was so lit up. And then the project ended, and it wasn't like forever that I had to give that level of service, but I don't remember it as draining my energy. I remember it as what an incredible opportunity. And that's what it feels like when you're living in your soul self, your dharmic self, your template. But yeah, is it going to require some things? Yeah, but mostly mental, to get over the resistance to either being seen, showing up, or this fear that I don't have what it takes, I'm too tired. I guarantee you, energy is like that. When you're doing the right thing, all of a sudden it's there. So we're going to talk about the 3 levels right now of Gene Key 41. The shadow is fantasy. And then we'll talk about the gift level, which is called anticipation. And then briefly we'll touch on the city, or I'll weave that in. It's the city level is the divine essence, the highest expression of this code that leads to a sense of enlightenment. And what is enlightenment? That there's actually no one here, you know? And so they're beautiful. And emanation is the code of that city. It's the all, it's the thing from which everything derives. It's animating you and me right now. You can call it so many different names. I call it sometimes the dark monad. You've heard me say that if you've watched my transmissions. It's like dark matter, this nourishing, fertile void from which all things come, the original source code. So that's really what's underpinning all of this energy of Gene Key 41. And the gift frequency, we still have some shadow in there. And yet enough has been cleared where we're oriented not from fear, not from scarcity, not from trying to be someone or prove myself, which comes from a fear and scarcity that I'm not enough. But really, we're more into that zone of being who we are meant to be. So let's talk about the shadow of fantasy. He says that the shadow frequency, I'm going to read this quote from him, is really marked by a feedback loop that keeps you and me stuck in states of suffering. So imagine where we're stuck right now in any suffering. That's a feedback loop. You notice how you think about it and think about it. You wake up and that's the first thing you think about. So that's a pattern and we get stuck there and we do things the same. So we get the same results. And then we go on feeding that same behavior because somehow our mind is convinced that that's the way through. But the gift frequency, he says, anticipation looks for the breakout. Where's the opening so that I can break this pattern? It senses the time and the place for the breakout. And that we're going to pick up later. I love that. And therefore, it can attract, create completely new experiences, entirely new cycles for people. I love that. It's like a shift. It's a break in that pattern. So that fantasy is when we don't act on our dreams. We keep looping them over and over of what could be someday or what was in the past, and we're not here now taking action on it. So he says that we've become addicted to the hope. I love this piece. We've become addicted to the hope that the dream brings to your mind. It's just feeding your mind to have that hope that someday I'm going to do that thing, rather than actually launching off in a direction of the dream. And I think when you get to be in midlife, there's a reckoning. Like that was my second Saturn return. There's a reckoning. And I say, wow, there's only so much time left. So part of me is stunned. I don't know if you all experience this, but part of me is stunned that two-thirds of my life is gone. I really can't remember all of it. And when I think back on it, it's kind of painful because, man, did I come in with a lot of karma that I had to work through. And sometimes I feel, oh, gosh, I wish I knew that then and I would have acted differently and everything would have opened up. So, you can see that like I can get into that. And part of my second Saturn return was really acknowledging all of it. But now there's a point, right, where I say, okay, we're complete with that. I'm not going to be able to fix that. That 2/3 that's gone is gone. and I have a third left, knock on wood, It's up to the God goddess, whatever time I have left. So how can I orient myself? So I think that's one permission slip right there. Aging just gives you one permission slip. The other permission slip is when everything out here is breaking down. So there's really like no reason to keep it all from moving because it's already moving. It's already breaking down. Relationships that, you didn't really want to separate because it was just better and easier. They're separating, and there's nothing you can do about it. Or places that you are living that they're not right for you, whatever it is, work situations, it's all changing anyway. So there's a permission slip in, okay, so now what? So a lot of us have come to that ground zero of asking, now what? And so I've heard some really crazy visions of this AI future. I'm watching a lot of content around that because I'm really curious what people who have developed AI or in that are saying about it. And there's been some talk of and I think Elon Musk says this a lot. Well, no one's going to have retirement. No one's going to have to do anything. There's just going to be a crazy amount of abundance available for everyone. I don't know. But there's another picture that some people are saying where imagine just lots of bodies laying down on a cot, like hooked up to the board, watching content 24/7, having, nutrition drip fed through an IV needle or something. And we just become like zombies, entrained with the amount of content that AI can generate 24/7. So when I think about that picture, I think about this shadow of fantasy, that we have all the movies, all the content, we have VR glasses, we're doing all these cool things through our minds, but we're not actually living. Maybe that's one timeline. But there's another timeline that's available. And that's that timeline of what this gene key is wanting to activate, because its programming partner is gene key 31, which is the gene key of leadership. So it's the shadow of arrogance, the gift of leadership, and the highest expression is humility. And so in these codes are leadership codes. And before we get to more of anticipation and activating this morphogenetic field, which Gene Key 41 talks about, let us presence a few questions. And I asked this in my last video, if you saw it, about the 5 planets conjuncting Pluto in Aquarius. So this is where, if you're taking notes, you might want to write these down. The first big question that has us live in a new timeline is, what are my gifts and my abilities in this new world? What are my gifts and abilities in this new world? The second question, just write these down, and these are for your contemplation. What am I here to offer and create? What am I here to offer and create? That's takes some tuning in, not from here, but from here. Number 3 is, where do I feel a resonance and an alignment with where I belong? Where do I feel a resonance and alignment with where I belong? And then the final question is, where am I going? Like, what's next? And I say that question with intention, to actually make a conscious decision of how you will use your life force energy, not haphazard. So, how will I serve? What will I offer? What is mine to do? Those are all these questions that are forming a soup. And that soup is this Aquarian activation, this new world that we're stepping into. And we may not know the answer. We're going to live the answer. We're going to be the expression of that answer. And that has us bring so much conscious awareness to our lives so that when some opportunity comes, we're really saying, is that mine to do? Is that in a lane of what I offer? Is that next for me? And you'll be guided. There's so many tools, and your own inner gnosis will guide you through those questions. But that person is not the person that's hooked up to VR glasses. Not that there's anything wrong with them. I think they'll be fun to use here and there. But as a 24/7, just feed me so I can check out, another form of numbing out because I don't know how to be in this world. I mean, how many people are having that question right now? People with like massive amounts of anxiety. And so the salve is, who are you here to be? Let's get on with it. Thinking about it will be nerve-wracking. Doing it and acting on it, making new baby steps will feel liberating. Yeah. So y'all getting what I'm saying here? And I want to pay homage before we move to anticipation to Pluto. He is the Lord of death and rebirth, and we're in a collective death. If you haven't gotten the Power and Relief of Cycles, you should get it. It's 38 minutes, but it takes you to really a historical view of what is happening right now. I mean, I am so thankful that data came to me, because I don't know how I would be dealing with this world right now. I would probably be fighting it, thinking I could save or change something. But now I know we're in a cycle, and it's a death cycle, just like winter. And it doesn't mean that we don't have a part to play in it. It just means that at a big level, things are dying. And in the United States, we elected a president that is responsible, in my view, for much of the dying, even literally dying of democracy, dying of the Constitution, dying of the rule of law. Like, that is gut wrenching. I'm a former attorney, so I know what these mean. It's gut wrenching. And that kind of pressure, as the historians in the fourth turning said, is part of how the new gets formed. Because we're going to get coalesced to something new. We're going to come together in community. And Aquarius says, yes, we are. We're going to decentralize and come into community. It's going to be fascinating, because that Capricorn, Pluto in Capricorn, was about the breakdown of those solid institutions. And we saw what it did over that 15 years. I think it was 15, something like that, since 2008, I think. Yeah. And now what will it produce? Maybe a whole new political map. I don't know. And Uranus moving into Gemini, a huge AI signature along with Pluto. So massive things changing, the wrecking ball being a part of it. And then in this next 7 years, the shift to a rebirth period. That's how this history shakes it out. Still lots of things in play. We don't know until they happen that we can set more of a timeline. And then we have Pluto, and then we have Uranus. And then we have what I call hidden opportunity. And that's these questions right here, because we're not slaves anymore. We've woken up to a level of, you know what? I have agency. I get to decide where I put my time and attention. I am in co-creative partnership with my job, with my partner, with the earth. That's a whole different relationship. So let's move to, let's see if I'm going to move right now. Okay, yeah. So let's move into the gift frequency called anticipation. So the shadow has this pressure. This pressure is to evolve. The gift takes that pressure and it finds out how to do that. And one of the ways the gene keys say that it does that is quite magical, honestly. It is through tapping into the morphogenetic field. And if you don't know what that is, let's think of it as this energy field that connects all things through time and space. So there is no time and space. We're just all connected. So think about all the things that you need to know that you don't know. They're in that field. All the things coming that we don't even know are coming are in that field because there's no time and space. They already exist in another dimension. And so for us here, as the programming partner of leadership, it says, I can tap into, if I am quiet enough, if I'm empty enough, I can tap into that morphogenetic field. And it used the example of Mozart. He was raised by a parent who was musical, but it is said, and I should say, and it was said, because there was something to hang everything on, right? It wasn't just musical notes out of the blue, although I think there are people out there who have done that, but there was something to hang it on. But he didn't get limited by it. He moved into the morphogenetic field and downloaded, those are my words, I don't know if those are his words, like these beautiful bodies of music. So the idea here is that we can tap into the energy field, I'm going to say it that way, of the leaders, like the higher frequency of past leaders, future leaders, and leaders who are part of the, what I would call like the conscious council of humanity. And that's more like a Gurdjieff term where he talks about how people who are part of their spiritual growth are still doing their work on the other side, and they need us and we need them. So we're in the middle world and they're in the upper world, and we need each other. We're feeding each other. It's literally a term called reciprocal feeding, where they help us do the work here and we help them keep doing the work that they're doing. I kind of feel like that's part of the morphogenetic field that we're tapping into. We have access to that when we activate Gene Key 41. So right now we're going to call in some of the leaders and tap into their field and just presence, you know, who has walked this earth and whose shoulders we stand on. And then we'll go into some quiet space. Gene Key 41 says that if you're able to maintain a high frequency through this 41st gift, you'll be able to literally download all manner of beautiful things from the morphogenetic field. I love that. We might need that. That might be the next level superpower, where we have let go of trying to be someone, trying to do something, trying to have superpowers, and we just go into silence, put it all on the altar, and receive. That's allowing our personality to be food for our soul. Okay, so I'm going to presence a few of these women leaders, and I invite you to think for yourself, maybe add them into the chat if you have anyone that I didn't come across. Well, there's going to be lots that I'm not presencing here. Just a few names. And I'm going to call forth their highest frequency, because we're all humans. We have low frequencies, we have high frequencies, we have shadow, we have light. So as we circle together in this group of those here now and those coming later to listen to this, we just remember the women. And the reason why I'm choosing women leaders is because, as if you know me, you know, I say, we have been out of balance with the feminine principle. We've lost our way with humanity. We've gotten so into building and taking over and dominating and controlling, and more for us. And this fear. So just me and my people and everyone else can be burned to the ground. I don't care. That is done. The feminine principle does not hold that. Let's think of that, the divine mother principle, or the archetype of the temple of the moon, Cancer. You know, she is drawing people, babies to her breast to feed them. Everyone belongs to the mother. There is no one outside the mother. We've lost that. That's our first principle. All the laws that we've constructed that judge people about who they are and what they can and can't do, and should they be in this country, all of that is bullshit. At the beginning, it is humanity. That's our first principle. And if we don't start there, then we can't make and govern on top of a missing sense that to be human is sacred. And so I begin with women, because it is up to us to show up, to bring forth this principle. So let's say one of the women on this list, and someone curated the 30 most important female leaders, and she began with Cleopatra. And you think about these women in very patriarchal times who were leaders. So they got some codes. So Cleopatra, Queen Elizabeth, Eleanor Roosevelt, Joan of Arc, Catherine the Great, Harriet Tubman. Remember, the escaped slave who became a leading abolitionist? She broke the code. She took that gene key of anticipation and broke the code. There's an Egyptian pharaoh, did you know that, who ruled for 20 years. I'm going to say her name as Hatshepsut, something like that. It's probably not that. But people prospered during her reign, and she did building projects. But her reign was erased by successors. Isn't that a story that we're familiar with, especially with respect to the Bible and Mary Magdalene and the Marys? There was the only female emperor of China, Wu Zetian. Might be saying that name. She was a concubine and then achieved the highest office in the land. She was responsible for reform and expansion and the patronage of the arts. Rosa Parks, remember her? You know how she exercised her leadership? Remember? She was asked to give up her seat on a bus, and she said no. That's it. Started a revolution with the word no. Remember Malala from Afghanistan? She's the youngest ever Nobel laureate. She was attacked, but it didn't silence her. She survived the attack, went on to win the Nobel Peace Prize, and then still doesn't stop her mission, educates women and girls today. Remember Corazon Aquino, the first female president of the Philippines. She led into a people-powered revolution. We need her codes. Remember Susan B. Anthony, a leader in the women's right to vote. I mean, if it weren't for her, we probably wouldn't be standing here. I found out about the first female president of Chile. A lot of firsts, a lot of women who already broke the barrier. She was a person who put in place progressive social policies, particularly gender equality. And there was Aung San Suu Kyi in Burma, now Myanmar. She resisted the military dictatorship. I also learned about the first female principal of the Cherokee Nation. Her name was Wilma Mankiller. Fascinating. I'd like to know more about that. She advanced healthcare and education for her people. There was a Korean queen who actually promoted Buddhism and during a time of instability. So it was like she became a spiritual leader as well. And then she unified the Korean peninsula. And the last woman that I'll share was Wangari Maathai. I loved the documentary on her. Her story is unbelievable. She was a Kenyan environmentalist. She won the Peace Prize as well. She supported women to plant trees to stop deforestation. But when I watched her documentary, what she was really doing under the surface was teaching people to think for themselves, to be responsible for their decisions, and to be sovereign and walk in their power. Because they were, and she did this through asking questions. I saw some live footage, and she would ask people, why do you think they're telling you that? And people, as soon as they connected the dots, oh, because they want to control me. And why do you think they want to control you? Kind of things like a Socratic method. And they figured out for themselves that, oh, and because of that, the dictator of Kenya was unseated. Something impossible became possible. So there's probably so many more, the mother. There's probably so many more women whose shoulders we stand on. And I want to bring them into this frequency for our activation. Because Gene Key 41 is called the change maker, the revolutionary change agent for community. And while you may not have this code, this may not be the way the sun shines through you as your personal brand. And if you were born during the 21st, 22nd to the 26th, 27th, this is your personal brand. That's how the light shines through you. We all have this code inside of us. And as we come to this week and we cross this threshold into the first initiation of 2026, we're being initiated into these leadership codes, these change agent codes. And let's do it with humility, because we don't know what it's going to require. We look right now at Iran and we see what it requires. And it takes my breath away. It requires people's lives. And already in the United States, people have given their lives. And so I imagine there'll be more of that. It's a sobering moment. And so everyone has to dig deep to find what is theirs to do. I can't tell you what yours is to do. I mean, I could read your codes and maps, but over here, I can't tell you. This is from inside of you. And your circle, your council of wisdom around you will hopefully support you in having the courage, the bravery to do what's yours to do. It's an all hands on deck moment. So we're coming to the end of this. We've been going on for an hour. We're going to complete in the next few minutes, but let's do an internal activation. And the way we're going to do this is through emptying. Because as 41 says, we want to be able to sense things. We want to be able to hear the next step. And if we have a lot running, we can't. If we have an idea of what it is or what it is not, we might miss it. So I invite you to go inward right now. With all of us here, it will be exponential because 2 or more are gathered here. So take a deep breath and close down your eyes if that feels good to you. I'm standing up because I want to feel my feet on the ground. I want to be feeling the support of Mother Earth. You know, I want her vote. I want the vote of the ocean. I want the vote of the rocks and the trees and the air. So who do I need to be to have their vote? Because they have this Kundalini power of earth in them. We haven't even tapped that. So let's draw up the energy from earth into our bodies and bring it all the way up into the heart space. And then let's draw down the energy from that morphogenetic field. Let it come in through the crown. All the sisters we mentioned and others we did not, because there are many more. And just feel this council of feminine elders all around us, surrounded by rocks and trees and animals and water and clean air. And we hold all of that in our mind's eye, not as a fantasy, but as a vision that we are willing to act on. And so we drop right now all preconceived ideas, all fears, judgments, scarcity of not enoughness, it's not enough, I'm not enough, all of that. We just take it all, again, we lay it on that altar. Or if we've already laid it on the altar, we witness that it's there and that we're just empty, ready to be filled with that emanation, the original source code sparking a new light in each and every one of us. We know the task is big, and we know we're not alone. And we're so much more than what we appear to be or who we think we are. And so we just breathe into that. And let's spend like one moment of silence together in this emptiness, and then we will complete together. Take a nice inhale. Exhale and flutter open your eyes. To me, honestly, when I go into that space, I don't ever want to come out. It just feels like so nourishing. And what I got the other day is that this practice, if you do this, will really fuel up every part of your life. Like that's the fuel. You're lacking energy, you're lacking ideas, you're lacking opportunities. Just do that and let it fuel up your life. And watch things start to rearrange themselves because you've got now access to something that you didn't really have access to before. It was just buried or suppressed or blocked off. So this is our way through. I hope you enjoyed this activation, number one. We'll get together again. I'll let you know when the second, I don't know if I'll do all 7 of them, but I'll do another activation. And in the meantime, you could check out Substack. You could also look at the offerings inside of the description box. We've got a Wise Women Mastermind coming up. I've got custom genius reports that I do for people. So there's lots of ways to get involved and stay connected, or hop over to our Facebook group. I'll put all that inside the description so that we can start to really support each other in the flourishing of these codes in our lives. You know, one of the commentators said it was going to get worse before it gets better, like out here. And I think cultivating an inner sense of resilience and community are 2 of your ways to protect yourself. So with that, if there's anything you want to say in the chat, I'll take a look. Thank you, Alexis. Yeah, let me know where you're tuning in from if you haven't already. I'd love to hear from you. And so what we're going to do here is just gather all this positive energy. This is part of how I love to end our calls together. So this energy of the divine feminine, this Venus who's meeting Pluto, this parade of personal planets that are going through their own death and rebirth process, which means in our lives, something will be powered up. We put all of that in between the palms of our hands, all this positive energy of the sisters gathering in community, in intention, to really meet this evolutionary moment with courage. Yeah. And then we beam it out. Now, I like to beam it out like I like to see this gold light, however you see it, surrounding the planet. Yeah. May we remember who we are. May we remember why we're here. And may all beings benefit from the merits of our efforts. A deep bow to you, sisters. Namaste. Thank you for being here. Such an honor to be with you. I couldn't do it without you. All right. Lots of love.